Ladies and gentlemen, we are back to our usual format after Egon von Greyerz giving a nice presentation at our virtual Munich Precious Metals Conference. Now we are back to our monthly interview. Egon, you look blue. How are you? How do you feel today?
Well, I feel great. You have to appreciate life. Obviously, we have a period now which is tough for the whole world and all of us, but we have to adjust and adapt, and that's the only way. This too shall pass, as the wise man said. It will pass. We don't know how long it will take, but it will. So in the meantime, let's do what we can and help each other and try to find some good solutions for investors also.
Absolutely. We have to cope with it. And let's look at the markets first, gold and stock market in particular. So your scenario seems to play out. The Dow Jones is close to 30,000. And I think clearly they play the vaccination card. They use news if they are useful or not, or only speculation to drive the market up and the gold down. What's your impression about the current market, gold and stocks?
Yes, well, the market is eternally optimistic, and of course they've been right, because for you could take a 50-year period more or less, or certainly since the 1980s, the market has gone straight up basically with a few corrections, which is always the case. But now, so the market doesn't look for bad news. It doesn't really worry about bad news. It shrugs it off very quickly. And then whatever good news there is, that's the way the market is going. And as you said, we have the vaccines. So now there are three different vaccines. I'm always slightly concerned when it's taken years and years for scientists to develop good vaccines for the flu, and now all of a sudden for this pandemic they have 3 vaccines that are 90% plus effective, they say. Let's hope it's right. It'll be good for the world, but I don't think we're quite there yet. Nevertheless, this will end, as I said, and that's what markets say also, and they like the Trump loss, although he doesn't accept it himself. I mean, that's reality now, and Biden will be the new president. That's very clear. And that certainty is whether you like Biden or Trump, doesn't matter. The certainty is good for markets, and so is the point of the vaccines, and that's why markets going up. And whenever gold goes up, which it has done strongly this year and for years, there are always weak hands coming in, i.e. the speculators who jump on the bandwagon and then get out when it doesn't go up anymore. So that's what we're seeing now. I mean, I had been talking about for a while. I mean, first of all, as you know, I have the melt up in markets. I think that was going to happen. It can continue that for a while, actually. Until it crashes, but that could be in 6 months' time or 3 months' time. But in the meantime, markets are going to be strong, and therefore, the gold is for the weak hands, for the ones who are the speculators jumping in and out, buying paper gold. They're now getting out. So we are, and I've been saying that we could go down to the 1800, 1820 I've been saying that for a while. So that's part of the scenario that I see. Next move up, whenever it stops, if it stops here slightly below our 1800, doesn't matter. The next move up in gold and precious metals is going to be very, very strong. I'm absolutely convinced.
And Egon, before we continue to our main topic today, which is the Great Reset, let's show to our audience 2 graphics that I have prepared, only 2 today. It's the inflow in stocks and the outflows from gold stocks, which underline what we just said. It's a shift. It's a move to full risk again. The markets seem to be confident and are full risk, but let me show it quickly. Egon, here we see it. We had big inflows it's a 2-week period that we see here. 71 billion US dollars went into equities in a 2-week period. It dates back to 2008. And let's compare this to gold. It's only a 1 week here, but nevertheless, we see a big outflow. But look at the scale. The total numbers are here in gold much smaller. Nevertheless, it was significant and could move the market. So the hot money, as you said, went out. I think that can and will reverse quickly a opportunity to buy. What do you think, Egon?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, this is, you know, whether we go a little bit lower or not, the trend is up, then it's strongly up. There's absolutely no question about it. So, you know, yeah, this is a good time to buy. But remember, you know, in the physical market, especially the market that we are in, wealth preservation market, we don't see any selling, and the same with the refiners. They don't see any major selling. So this is paper gold or funds, and a lot of these funds, as we know, is paper gold too. As I said, it's the weak hands that are getting out, and you know, and those weak hands is good that they're out, but the real market is going to continue up, and you know, the problems that we've been talking about in the world, they're not resolved by the vaccine. Because the vaccine is because the pandemic is not the real problem. The real problem is that, as we discussed many times, is the debt problem in the world, and the state of the financial system. That's the problem, and that will continue, guaranteed.
And one point that also caused some insecurity was the sale of Warren Buffett's a part of his stake in Barrick Gold. He sold 9 million shares, which equals 44% of its total holding, and we took him as an example for other big investors to move in, and now he is again or already moving out with a big part of it well, he usually doesn't do this, but he never liked gold anyway, so I would not give too much on that.
Exactly, you said it, Jan. You know, clearly he is a weak hand when it comes to gold. You know, he's never been fond of gold, and he proved it again. Sure, it's one of his managers doing it, but I'm sure he was aware that they were selling. But it's only a few hundred million. It's absolutely nothing, and for him it's nothing. But clearly he's now back more heavily into the stock market, where he's always. And in the stock market, he's a long-term investor in commodities, which obviously they see. He doesn't look at gold as wealth preservation. You know, a few hundred million for him is not wealth preservation for the size of fund he has. So therefore, this was just a bit of short-term speculation, and they're out. So I think it's insignificant for the gold market.
Let's come to our main topic, Egon, and I start with some quotes that I took from a paper from the website of the World Economic Forum. I will link this also below the video, but let me read some quotes first, and then we talk about that. So now quote. Okay. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. One by one, all these things became free. So it ended up to making no sense for us to own much. First, communication became digitalized and free to everyone. Let's continue. Let me continue with the quotes. In our city, we don't pay any rent. We only use clean energy and clean production methods. When AI and robots took over so much of our work, etc., we suddenly had time. And now the best at the end, the best. In fact, I have no real privacy. Nowhere I can go and not be registered. This is something, it's an article, it's a paper, maybe not the official, or maybe it is the official meaning of Mr. Schwab. We come to him, we let him talk in a few seconds. But this is a discussion paper, and those papers are often taken to test the waters and test the reaction of the public. And I think it's what we read here is a society like 1984, and something that a self-thinking citizen would not agree to.
No, and that's the agenda of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. And you know, this is exactly as you say, is Orwellian, and it could have been a quote out of 1984 that you just read. You know, so there, this is now. It's fascinating that the elite is gathering every year in Davos and listening to this. I really wonder what percentage of that elite is actually subscribing to that message. But they are there primarily for just to rub shoulders with other other people from the elite, rather than to believe in a Marxist agenda. I'm sure that there are a few that maybe would like to be part of this and have a position of power within this new structure. But so what Schwab was talking about is a fusion between the digital and the biological identities, i.e., you implant chips into people and they become machines, and therefore, the identity of human beings as we know it disappears. And then this is then obviously they're doing it under the agenda that the technology is going to improve dramatically, etc. Yeah, that part of it is fine if all the industries and all the companies that come to the World Economic Forum, work on improving technology. I mean, that's good for the world, but it's not good that a small clique of people are trying to sit in the center and control this, and the rest of the people are going to not have any money, be taxed heavily, and in a Marxist system. In my view, Schwab, and I wrote an article about this recently, Schwab is really a modern Blofeld or James Bond villain, Blofeld or Goldfinger. He's got the same ambitions. So far, no villain in the Bond film has won.
I hope so in reality.
And with their crazy ideas. And I think just human beings would revolt. This is not natural. This is not, we are, is the soul going to disappear into a machine? Well, it's a possibility, but I doubt it, because as long as we have a brain, we will use it to think, and we will revolt against being taken over by machines. The word sabotage comes from the French word sabot, which means clog. So in the Industrial Revolution in Belgium, they threw the clogs into the machines to sabotage the machines which were actually taking over. Those machines were not thinking machines, so that wasn't really a problem, and that certainly helped the world. And as I said, technological advance will certainly help the world, but not if it's controlled by people who shouldn't be there. I mean, I don't know, villains or mad people. And so therefore, I don't think it has a chance. It's a fantastic dream, and they can all gather in Davos every year to discuss it. But I don't believe it's reality at all.
And Egon, a point is also from the quotes that I just read: if I own nothing, it is, in my opinion, is absolutely natural to own something, to have some kind of independence. But if I don't have anything, I'm totally dependent from the state. And if you go to China, we talked about this already, you have this social credit system. If I own nothing, then I'm totally dependent from the behavior of the state. And this is, I think, a slave state who everybody is obeying the state, so nothing that I would want to achieve.
I agree with you, and of course, you see that. Let's take Russia first, or the Soviet Union. Communism worked for 80 years, or less than 80 years, 75 years, let's say. But then, but you look what happened to the economy. It collapsed. If you're taking away the free will of the people, they're not going to produce anything if the state is taking over. Sure, sounds good to have the machines doing it all, but there has to be people also behind. Otherwise, machines are not going to build the world, in my view. They're going to be a fantastic tool, but human beings must be in control. So, so communism failed in China. It's only because they actually opened up to free enterprise that China has really grown dramatically. Now, there is some control also, how that in the long run will, they're trying, obviously, the state wants to control, and people want to be free. So we'll see how that develops. But, long term, no oppression has ever worked in history. Human beings want to be free, want to be free thinking, want to produce things, want to own things, because that's what drives the world forward, not the machines.
And a medal for freedom is also the precious metals. They are clearly for independence and for freedom. So in my opinion, to buy precious metals is also a statement for sovereign citizens.
Yes, absolutely. Why shouldn't we have the freedom to buy the things that we want to own, especially if we think that that protects us from what the state is doing in most countries, or the central banks, which is destroying our money. So we should have the right to protect ourselves, and I mean, that's what people are going to do in growing numbers in coming years, because we are on now on the cusp of actually destroying the current financial system. You know, I'm looking at the dollar, I'm looking at the euro. You know, it looks like the dollar is soon going to head for a crash, and the euro looks very strong then to the dollar, which is, of course, euro in itself is not a strong currency. As we know, all currencies are going to decline against gold over time. But for the time being, as I always believed, also the dollar is going to lead that decline, and I don't think we're far away from that. I think when gold moves up at the next time, which could be within the next few weeks, then the dollar is going to show a very strong decline.
And Egon, a point that I wish to stress today, to achieve this great reset, or to facilitate it, to move it that way, they need a big event. And because if it's only this C19 that hopefully will disappear sooner or later, they have to think about something much bigger, and they talk about it already. And I'd like to play a little part of a video of a speech from Schwab.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
In my opinion, Egon, and to our audience, this is something they talk about this for quite a while. A major cyber attack that could spread around all the world, take out the grid, and this would harm the global economy much worse than C19 is now doing. But I think it could be a realistic chance, or a realistic attempt for them to try to go there, to get there.
Yeah, cyber attacks are always a risk, and they're a growing risk. But that's something that we, just like we weren't prepared or expecting the way it happened, the coronavirus. It's very hard to protect against a major cyber attack. I think it's some events we can prepare for. Others, you know, if we can't do anything about it, it's no use worrying about it. And because most of the people in the world can't do anything about it, we are aware of it. You know, it's a danger to the world. This dependence on the computer technology and the internet, etc. It's very dangerous because it's extremely vulnerable. We know that even if it's distributed around the world, it's not that difficult to shut down. That can happen, but let's hope that it doesn't. And if it does, we will have a much quieter world, and we won't be able to speak like this, and we won't have any telephones or internet, etc. Maybe it will be good for the world for a while.
And if this happens, Egon, then people can try to use Bitcoin for their daily barter business, if no electronic is working.
It'll be tough. Yeah, they have to make the Bitcoins manually.
But also to our audience, be aware that without electricity, also heating is not working, and many other things. So try to take at least some precautions, and be aware of the danger of the vaccination. So I don't trust it a bit. So Egon, some hopeful words at the end.
Well, you know, although my message sounds maybe sometimes pessimistic to some people, but I'm an optimist. You know, I enjoy life. I've had an excellent long life. I don't see that will change, because we can't change the whole world around us, our macro world. There's no human being can do that. So what we have to do is to work on our own little micro world. And there are so many good things around us, as I've stated many times, family, friends, nature, music, etc., and our own projects. So therefore, I'm optimistic. There's so much, and that, it wouldn't be bad if we got rid of a lot of the things that we have now, i.e. the golden calf, the materialistic system, having many cars, many telephones, many computers, etc. It wouldn't be bad if that stopped for a while and the world calmed down. So you got to do the best out of any situation. That's what life is all about. And you have to cope with adversity. And if you do that, and as I said, have a little clique of friends and business friends, etc., and family. Life can always be good. So therefore, and then on top of that, protect yourselves, as you said. Own a bit of gold, own a bit of silver, keep it in physical, and that will be money for you if we get these bad times. So be optimistic, and in the meantime, enjoy the day, because that's what it's all about.
And we know, Egon, many micros make the macro, so let's be good and shining micros for the truth. Thank you for today, Egon, and
absolutely.
till next time.
All right, yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.